Hey Tappers, this is Mark from Faith on Tap. Think about a first impression you've had about someone. Were you right? Wrong? Should it matter? And then we have to ask, can we trust those first impressions?
We have a filter that we process people through, and either we get a good feeling, a neutral feeling, or a creepy feeling. And I think we have to go with that until proven otherwise.
Now, the scripture is clear that judgment is part of the Great Commission.
The Bible talks about judging in the eternal sense, meaning, Mark, you're not going to heaven, you're deemed to hell. And so that Bible warns us against that, but we're called to call out sin. And if we're called to call out sin in a brother or a sister, we have to make a judgment call, whether that's sin or not.
In our life experiences, intimacies with Scripture and the Gospel will always provide tension with these impressions.
It's difficult not to snap judge, and I think a snap judgment can eventually, a desire to follow Jesus, a desire to press into not just making assumptions, but that snap decision could either protect you or could lead you into a different place of accepting the person. But I believe there's always value in that initial sense that you get from a person, as long as you don't anchor everything moving forward to that.
It's maturity in Christ that will bring us to correct relationship with everyone we come in contact with. So look to the person to the right and know you are called to love them. Settle back and have a listen. Let's go. We are at the Kinsman Brewery in Southington, Connecticut. And this podcast will sound a little different to start with because I won't mention any names, but someone left the real mics at home. And also, we don't have Dennis with us. He has a home emergency he's taking care of. He'll be back for the second part of the podcast. But Liz, what did we just drink?
We both had some stouts here. It's the same one. It's called Nutty Buddies, and it's apparently 4 different breweries work together to make this happen. And my first impression is, and actually I think it was yours too, it tastes kind of like a candy bar.
I'm not sure you needed all 4 breweries to make this. I think one could have done fine.
I think it says 6-way collaboration up there.
I think one person would have been sufficient for this. It's a fine stout, maybe a 6.5 out of 10, I'd give it.
It's a little sweet.
Yeah. So we are here, and Dennis would have some, I don't know, his IPA would be Mamby-Pamby IPA or something like that, made with all fruit juices and stuff. But anywho, we're going to be asking the question, what is a first impression that you had of someone that was actually wrong? What do you think people are going to be saying? Are they going to give it a lot of thought? Will they be flip it?
I think it's going to take them a while to come up with an answer. It's not a deep question, but they're going to have to really try to remember, unless it's someone in their group, and then it'll be funny. It's going to be a challenging question because they won't be able to think of one, not because it's a difficult question.
Yeah, well, we're going to see what kind of crowd we have here. It seems like a lot of the people are here for an event, so we might be interrupting that. That's not the first time we did that, but, let's see what we have. Okay, so we are here with, you want to state your name, please?
Vinny.
Vinny, and the question we have for you would be, what's a impression that you had of someone that was actually wrong?
As a teacher, sometimes you jump to conclusions with students. It happens. You put your foot in your mouth. I know I've done it a bunch of times. I can't think of any one specific or concrete right now, but I will tell a story about some very good friends of ours. I was a photographer at our wedding. My wife worked with his wife, and we met him through that. And, it turns out he really liked fishing a lot. So he would always tell these stories, about Hubbard Park, catching 30-pound fish inside that little tiny pond in Meriden. And I'd always tell Emma, and this guy's nuts. He's telling fish stories. There's no 30-pound fish in that little tiny pond. What's wrong with him? I've gone fishing with people before. I've watched them catch an 8-pound, 13-ounce trout. When they retell the story, it's 13 pounds and 8 ounces. They conveniently mix up the numbers. So, I thought this was one of those, fishtail guys until I actually went fishing with them at Hubbard and caught, a 22-pound carp. So now I know there are giant carp in there, and, I misjudged him.
Well, maybe he's still lying. You said it was only 22 pounds, not 30.
Well, he did say his wife caught the 30-pounder. So if it is, he's jazzing her up.
Oh. So when you make a first impression on someone, what is it that you're judging? His character, the way what made you think that he was lying or wasn't telling the truth, at least?
Honestly, I think most of our first impressions are on looks, but this wasn't the case there. It was just as someone who fishes and has, gone to Hubbard Park 100 times, not fishing there, but I just there's no way there's 30-pound fish in that pond.
So you looked at all the data that you know of and how big fish are versus pond size, and you said, no, he's lying.
Yeah, my reality was limited. I thought I knew more than I did, and it turned out I was wrong.
And have you ever told him about what you originally felt about him? Does he know how you originally felt about him now?
Yes, we actually laugh about it when we go fishing now. Whenever we catch a fish, he's like, yeah, and you said I was crazy. There's no fish in here. So it's a funny story now, a running gag.
Except officially, there's no 30-pound fish as far as you know.
I haven't seen one, but apparently his wife caught a 32-pounder. So
Okay, very good.
Okay, so I'm Liz, and I'm talking to Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for playing my game. So I have a question for you. Okay. Have you ever had a first impression of somebody and later on realized that first impression was not correct?
Yes.
Okay, talk to me.
Do I have to explain?
Yes, please. That makes the podcast fun.
I mean, yes, in general, but off the top of my head, I don't know. I feel like
She's looking at her friend across
my friend over here, we taught together, and her and I have very different teaching styles, I would say.
Huh?
But we were not the best of friends at first, but now we talk to each other every day, and we kind of, a little bit of her, we rub off on each other. Yes.
Right. So what did you see at first and now you realize was not?
That she can be fun.
That's hilarious. Oh, we're talking to her.
She's going to talk to you next.
God, that's so great.
And we're back. And we're here with Liz. Hey, how's life?
Oh, it's like a pizza. It's cheesy, occasionally burnt, and mostly delicious.
Burnt? I'm not getting that. I probably don't want to think too much about that, do I?
Probably not.
Okay.
There's a crispiness to that.
That's not where I was going.
Oh, sorry.
That was a steward of souls.
Oh, all right. You threw it right down the center. I'll knock that for a double. Yeah, I like that one.
Steward
Very
of
nice.
souls.
Nice.
Yep. I'll take that.
All right. And Dennis, you couldn't be with us when we were at the brewery, so we expected you to contribute all kinds of information today with us because the question we asked.
Well, I'm going to not contribute information. I'm going to contribute revelation to this whole experience. So it's very different.
Oh, okay.
It's much more spiritual.
So, all right. Well, then I'm not going to talk much. Liz is not going to talk much. You can just take over. You can
I'm
do the
just
whole
going to
podcast.
sit back and
let him make a fool of himself.
Well, we could try helping. So the question is, who were you wrong about with your first impression? So with our discussion, I had the pleasure of talking to Vinny. He was thinking for a bit, but he said, my first impression was wrong. As a friend of his has talked about how he used to catch 30-pound fish in a little pond, and he called BS on it until he went fishing in this pond, and it had these large goldfish and
like legit 30-pound goldfish.
at Hubbard Park.
yeah, big carp.
Oh, okay. Carp. Yeah.
And
That's dough ball country right there.
yeah, and he caught his share of 20-something pounders, and he realized that he wasn't just a typical fishing person talking about his stories. He was the real deal. So that was the first impression he had of something that was wrong. And Liz, you talked to Sarah?
I talked to Sarah, and it's funny. I'm going around the brewery, and there was a lot of little parties going on. I saw this group of young women, and I'm like, they kind of look like teachers. So I go over there, and exactly, there was a table full of teachers having a party. So talked to Sarah. I asked her the question, and she said, yeah, it's her friend who was sitting right across the way that she'd first thought that she was kind of kind of a jerk. And now that they're close friends,
Was the friend actually?
she was literally like right there laughing. So, and then all the other teachers were like, "We don't want to be interviewed," and they all left. So,
The whole idea of first impressions are something which guides all of us in our daily life. I know if I'm thinking, what are some first impressions that people have about me, and you can think about what people have about you. About me, I was saying, as a person, as a teacher, as someone who's a functional adult, I think we pick up social cues all the time. That's not a bad thing. As a teacher, you're hyper aware. I am hyper aware as I'm looking at facial expressions, eyes, things like that. If they're paying attention, if they're somewhere else, if they don't understand a question, if they think you're an idiot, what have you. I do remember, like a long time ago, first day of school, a kid walked in, looked at me, went in the hall, and I was here. Who's that teacher? I don't know. Some guy looks like a real nerd. This is going to be a long year. Well, it turns out that this kid really took a liking to me, ended up being a physics major and graduated with a physics degree, and we hit it along well.
Are we talking about Wes?
No.
oh, wait, Captain Nerd.
No, it was another person. But first impressions, what are some first impressions people have? Now, of course, for me, they look at me and they think I'm a geek. And I remember I was at a church once, and after church service, a woman comes up to me and said, "Hey, we have some electronic equipment. We don't know how it works. Could you look at it?" I didn't know them from Adam. And of
But
course,
you could fix it.
Well, of course, I did fix it. And
So there's something to be said for our looks.
No, I'm not saying they're wrong. I thought it was kind of funny.
Geek is not a derogatory application.
Although my son had a funny story. He was one of the first days of college. He was a computer science major. Some girl crosses the street and he's getting a little excited. She goes up to him, says, "Hey, could you help me fix my computer?" and he said, "Oh, it shows, huh?" Says, "Yeah."
Wait, is that the woman he married?
No, it was not. Pastor, and we have a teacher. People are making all kinds of impressions, first impressions on you. So, Dennis, what are some things that you think people have a first impression of you?
Well, first of all, just from a physical appearance, when they find out I'm a pastor, there's shock and awe.
Why?
Well, I don't look pastoral. I'm bald with a gray mustache and goatee, very tattooed. I actually have a t-shirt that says, "Yes, I'm a pastor. Don't look so surprised." It's funny, but it's also sad how we've just kind of put pastors in the box. This is what they look like. You have to have a suit and a tie and whatever.
I don't know if that's true now. That might have been 20 years ago. But
You
I
don't
think all the quote unquote cool pastors. I mean, first of all, every Reform pastor is bald with a beard. So,
But they wear skinny jeans, and I can't pull that off.
Not the ones I've seen. But I mean, in all honesty,
And for your congregation, may I offer a collective phew.
But I mean, no, I don't think that's the stereotype anymore. I mean,
Yeah, in the 80s maybe, but it started.
People look at me when I tell them I'm a pastor. There is a shock.
What do they think? What the shock is that you're like a
The way it,
what are you then? If you're not a pastor, what do they think you are?
The physical appearance.
A garbage man, an accountant. I mean,
just not a pastor. I mean, pastors
Gun for hire.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
So whatever the first impression is, it's that you shouldn't be a pastor.
Not that I shouldn't be.
You don't look like it.
Surprised that I am.
Okay.
And then, once I have the explanation and blah, 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 and I interact, I hope they can see a pastor's heart. But from just the first impression of that guy, I wouldn't have claimed him to be a pastor. I can walk into any biker bar and not be accused of being a pastor.
Right. How about you, Liz?
I don't know. It's really tough with students. I would go in first day of class, both barrels blazing, and kids would tell me, "The first week we were so scared of you, but now we think you're really awesome."
The first 3 years I knew you, I was scared of you.
It's like, and I think I'm delightful.
You are now. But the
I
first
wasn't
3 years
delightful
were
back
kind
then.
of.
What did you think? I'm curious.
Well, Dennis thought, you told me, you asked me one time, why you, the church was for younger kids when Oasis started. It was like a youth group. He goes, why are you here? I go, I kind of like the sermon. Because it took me a while. I didn't know why you're even coming. You look like you didn't want to.
That was the Saturday night gig, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Or a Sunday night.
It was Saturday night.
Oh,
Saturday.
I thought it was Sunday.
I think it was Sunday night.
I remember I was aggravated because I had to be there in the morning. Yeah, that's right. It was Sunday and in the evening, and none of the other pastors had to be there in the evening.
Yeah. But he goes,
Curses
like,
foiled.
Why are you even here? He goes, I don't know. I kind of like it.
I remember the conversation we connected over was we talked about the Last Supper, and in the Seder, there is 4 glasses of wine that are consumed, and by the time the disciples got to the garden with Jesus and he's praying, they were drunk and they passed out. And you were like, huh. I'm not sure I agree with that, but okay. That's a new way of looking at it.
Okay. So those are the first.
You digress.
Yeah. So those are first impressions people have of us. Now, what are some first impressions you've had of other people that you are wrong about? I thought of some, if you guys can think, there's 2 in particular. One is a very simple one. There is a teacher.
I'm sitting right here.
Oh, no, I knew you from the get-go.
Okay.
Changed, sadly. No, there is that AP calculus teacher that she was from Poland, and she was very, soft-spoken and very demure. And it's like, I didn't want to say boo to her. Come to find out, she was one of the 2020, we were the only 2 people that in our school that didn't get the vaccine. And we would have to have special talks in the back of the room because we were ostracized by the whole school district.
You didn't wear a mask.
I didn't do that either, but we never. But it was funny. It's just, I'm not going to do that. I know it's like in Poland when communism comes over, and this is exactly what it is. And she was like feisty. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
So that was the first impression. And then another one I think we all know, it was at the current church. There's this lady who plays tambourine. My first impression was wrong because she was always offbeat by a 16th or an 8th of a note, and still is. I treated her as a one-dimensional person. I went over her house to help fix something, and she had a very large library. She was a librarian for a high school, and she was well-read, and I didn't know that about her. It brings a different dimension to her, and that was a first impression that needed further character development.
A gentleman I met who became a spiritual father to me. But when I first met him, he's a big man, he's large, he had a big belly, and he was talking about the discipline of keeping your car clean, you're making your bed in the morning, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this guy is way overweight, and he's talking about me keeping my car clean when he shouldn't be maybe watching his calorie intake. Completely disregarded him, and it took over 2 years for me to reconnect with him and realize I was completely mistaken with the focus of what he was speaking about. I just took it in a perverted way. Over the next about 4 or 5 years, he became a spiritual father. So this man, I was like, and he was teaching for a 3-night stint at this church. I went the first night and never went back because I was like, yeah, this guy's a fake. I believe through God's intervention, we reconnected. Literally, it was just over 2 years later, he became a very influential person in my life.
My stories tend to go the other way. I always give people right from the get-go the benefit of the doubt, and I expect people, it's my anticipation that people are going to be lovely. And so I go in with that idea. So
I need to hug you right now.
So unfortunately, sometimes I'm disappointed. So there was this one teacher at the school I worked in, and he was always considered, like, everyone thought he was just so funny. And I thought he was funny too, until I realized he was stealing everyone's jokes because he started stealing my jokes.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'd say this thing in a small group, everyone would laugh. And then
That's surprising.
I swear he would.
That only a small group. I thought it'd be a large group that would be laughing at you.
Shots fired.
And so then we'd be in a larger group and a similar conversation would come up. And there's my joke coming out of his mouth. And everyone's like, ho, 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 isn't he just so ribald? And I'm like, and I'm like, he literally just stole 3 of my jokes and gave them to you, and y'all think he's funny. So he's clearly doing this to other people too. So it's like, So then I would stop saying jokes in front of him because I'm not giving him my material.
So you were right in your...
No, I thought he was a nice guy. I said, he's funny. Isn't he just such a clever man? Until I realized he was stealing my jokes.
So you're the clever woman.
I'm so clever.
As clever as the clever come.
So now I have the unenviable task of making each podcast Christian focused, and we're talking about first impressions, and we really haven't gone there yet. So here we go. Now, one little comment about RBF, resting Baptist face. I mean, people can't. You get a first impression of someone. Sometimes they have that facial expression, but that
I resemble that remark.
But that can quickly go away once you know the person. But as a Christian, is it acceptable to formulate first impressions about people?
Because as a human, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Is it acceptable as a Christian? Is that a Christian thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just
talk about
gosh darn human.
Yeah, I think what Liz says is right on the mark. Like it's just human. We have a filter that we process people through, and either we get a good feeling, a neutral feeling, or a creepy feeling. And I think we have to go with that until proven otherwise.
Yeah, it's a biological imperative to keep us from dying.
But that's judging.
And there's that.
The Bible tells us never to judge
someone. It has nothing to do with judge. This has to do with keeping our bodies from dying.
No.
I believe the Bible. Bible says don't judge.
No. The Bible talks about judging in the eternal sense, meaning, Mark, you're not going to heaven. You're deemed to hell.
And you're not the first to say that today.
And so the Bible warns us against that, but we're called to call out sin. And if we're called to call out sin in a brother or a sister, we have to make a judgment call, whether that's sin or not.
What about the old plank in your eye, speck in the other?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I always thought that was...
And that's more, I believe it's more in the lines of Jesus calling out our accusatory mindset. Like, oh, look at him. He's doing that, when we do that ourselves.
Right.
Look at he's arrogant, when we have our own area of arrogance. Look at there's pride, there's whatever it is.
So until you look at yourself and see your own failure, your plank in the eye, which was a name of a 80s Christian band, Plank Eye. When you see the plank, once you see that and acknowledge what it is, then it's okay to see the speck in the other person's eye, I guess.
As long as you're taking some type of spiritually mature action towards removing that plank, understanding that you're not better than that person you're calling out, you're in the mud with them, type of thing.
All right, well, then how would you strike a balance between discernment and avoiding snap judgments in our daily life?
It's difficult not to snap judge. And I think a snap judgment can eventually... a desire to follow Jesus, a desire to press into not just making assumptions, but that snap decision could either protect you or could lead you into a different place of accepting the person. But I believe there's always value in that initial sense that you get from a person, as long as you don't anchor everything moving forward to that.
So you're making your discernment on the first impression, which is, have you all agreed, is a human thing to do, but you don't live in that, because
there you go.
You're going to give yourself the ability to say, well, I was
wrong.
Be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully you are.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a negative first impression.
Right.
And I'm grateful that I was wrong. But it took 2 years of separation from the whole environment, from the person himself, for me to reestablish and me to see it in a different light.
I think we can put grace in this picture too. So how can we practice grace when we have an initial encounter with someone, thinking that, we might be wrong? How does grace fit in this picture?
Personally, for me, if someone comes across as an ass, I'm going to give them the objective benefit of the doubt, and maybe they had a bad day. Maybe I don't understand what they just found out minutes ago through text message, through a phone call, through a voicemail. And so, they were a jerk, but I'm going to open the opportunity that I'm wrong, and this is just a moment in time for them. This is not who they are.
Because you can just picture yourself in that same part where I can snap at someone, I can be a jerk to someone, and I hope they can have the same grace that I can afford someone else.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can have like a 3 strikes rule as far as, being close to someone and putting yourself in, in a
That's a
that
good
kind
point.
of position, and do the 7 times 70 for, from a little bit of a distance after that. But and that's how you can kind of keep yourself safe. And, who knows, maybe they'll pick up on something. And then,
Yeah, I mean, the Bible says to forgive, but it doesn't say be a doormat.
yeah. And so, so there's a hope for a closer relationship. Then, let's see how they do after 3 strikes, and, with a little bit of a cool down of the relationship. Still be forgiving, of course, but you don't have to engage in that level any longer, because we're not automatons. We are emotional, spiritual beings.
Okay, so automaton. You have to use that. Anybody listening to this evening or this morning or this afternoon has to use that word 3 times in their daily vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Today.
Well, you can try it once.
Such a big word. Goodness, that's a $7 word.
For robot.
Ergo, my demise.
Well, on that awkward moment, we're going to end our podcast because I think it's going to get worse as soon as we keep it going. So have a good night, everybody. Tune in next episode when you'll hear Dennis say,
When I approach God as the fast food chain checkout person I've come up, I've given my order, and I expect to receive my order exactly the way it was given.
Hey, awesome listener. If you're enjoying our podcast, give us a little love, like, share, follow, and snag this episode for later. It's the easiest way to keep the good times rolling and make our day. You're the best. Thank you.